in Long Beach, California for the 16th annual Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. But it's the first time that the IMSA GTO GTU cars will run here in their fourth race of the season. They started their season at Daytona for the grueling 24-hour race, where Robby Gordon and the Mercury Cougar team were victorious. On to the streets of Miami. Wasn't the same kind of luck for the Mercury Cougar team. The 12 hours of Sebring, the luck turned back in their favor, and Robby Gordon and the Cougar are on top of the points battle. Hello, everyone. I'm Bruce Flanders, and we'd like to welcome you to the streets of Long Beach for the Chevron GTO GTU Championship. And still, Robby Gordon is our story. He's on top of the points, and he's standing by right now with Jack LaRoute on pit row.
21-year-old Robby Gordon had a fast day today. You started down at the Baha 250. They're telling you to go. How'd you finish?
Well, we won the Felipe 250 this morning, and you know, we're going to do the best we possibly can.
Well, I think that says it, just how crazy it is down here. Bruce?
Now let's take the opportunity to meet my co-host, a gentleman who's been in these race cars. In fact, he's fourth in IMSA points right now, but he wants to win the SCCA Trans Am Championship this year, Mr. Max Jones. And Max, you've been out on this racetrack already. Tell us a little about it.
Yeah, I ran the practice sessions this morning for Robby. He's down in Mexico doing the San Felipe 250, and the track's great, the weather's great, the car's working well, and I think you'll see a great race.
A tough field, too, huh?
Yeah, he's got his work cut out for him. There's Dorsey Schroeder, his teammate in the Cougar, and Pete Halsmer in the Mazda, and Steve Millen in the Nissan. So yeah, I think you're going to see a great race, and there's going to be a lot of action.
We're not far away from the green flag in Long Beach.
This ESPN program is brought.
Welcome back to Long Beach, California, the site of the Chevron IMSA GTO GTU Challenge. It's actually the 16th year that the Grand Prix has run here in the streets of Long Beach, but the very first year that IMSA is on board. And boy, are they on board. Look at that field warming up the tires as they come down to us. And today's grid is being brought to you by the Sears Die-Hard Battery. More power when you need it most. Let's take a look at who the quickest qualifiers were. Number 6, Dorsey Schroeder, a Mercury Cougar XR-7, and has he been fabulous between these concrete walls. Alongside of him, front row, at one time the quickest qualifier, number 1, Pete Halsmer, the defending champion, in the 4-rotor Mazda RX-7. Moving back to the second row, where we'll find the men we've already talked about a lot already. Number 9, Robby Gordon, the Desert Racer, in a Mercury Cougar XR-7. Alongside of him, 75, Steve Millen, also an off-road racer. He's running the Nissan 300ZX Turbo. Back to row number 3, where it'll be number 76, Jeremy Dale, in a companion Nissan 300ZX Turbo, and alongside of him, number 63, Elliott Forbes Robinson, a Mazda 4-rotor. Row number 4 finds a winner here when SCCA ran in the streets, driving a Chevrolet Camaro this weekend, number 78, Paul Gentilozzi, and number 8, Les Lindley, a veteran campaigner, also a Chevy Camaro. Row number 5 finds number 42, Bob Patch, the quickest qualifier in a Chevrolet Corvette, and sharing the row with him, number 5, Andy Porterfield, in a Camaro. And then number 07, Stuart Hayner, GTU, first of the qualifiers there in a Dodge Daytona, and number 74, George Robinson, a Ford Mustang. Back another row. Number 7 is Bill Auberland, a Mazda MX-6. Alongside of him, 00, Don Knowles, the companion Dodge Daytona GTU car. Number 38 is John Finger. He has won 2 IMSA races before, qualified well with a Mazda MX-6 today. And 37, Lance Stewart, another of the Mazda MX-6s. Back to row 9, number 96, David Loring, a Nissan 300ZX. And number 95, last year's champion in this category, Bob Leitzinger, also a Nissan 300ZX. Well, that's a look at the fastest qualifiers. Now let's take a look at the whole rest of this 33-car field. In GTO, that's over 3 liters, GTU, that's under 3 liters, and a category you're seeing show up now called AC. AC stands for American Challenge, and effectively it's a way for some of the older cars to remain competitive within their own class. You're looking right now at a shot from turn 1, and just back up the track a ways by that Chevron pedestrian bridge. These cars will come through at 165 to 170 miles an hour, and then lay hard on the brakes for turn number 1. Max Jones, what's the driving assignment right now for these drivers?
They're getting their tires warmed up, and with 2 pace laps they'll be able to get the tires as hot as they can. With a short track like this, and with the radial tires, you need to get them as hot as possible. So you get down to turn 1, you got some braking, and get through the corners.
In our effort to bring you a complete show, you're inside the Mazda of Pete Halsmer, who will be on the front row. That's one of our cameras that you'll get to ride with. Pete, the defending champion, he drove Mercury Cougars last year and won the number 1 plate, as the motorcycle guys would call it. And watch him scrubbing it back and forth as he goes under that garage. The camera breaks up just a little bit because the line of sight antenna up to the helicopter hovering overhead has been interrupted slightly. But I don't think Pete Halsmer is our only in-car camera. No, we've got another another one. We'll be showing it to you in a minute as they're trying to get the field formed up. You can see them out of the back of the pace car saying, line them up, guys, get them lined up. Now here's our other in-car camera, and boy, just shoveling that car back and forth is Steve Millen, number 75. Millen, the Nissan, will be carrying our other onboard camera. Well, the tire warming is just about complete. A potential green flag awaits them when they come around onto shoreline. Right now, though, they're going through turn number 9, and the field looks like it's assembled in a rather orderly fashion behind the pace car. This is a tough racetrack to learn. 11 turns, 1.67 miles around, and when you actually look at it on a map, there's 2 passing points that show up best. Turn 1 after that long arcing kind of straightaway, and on the back short chute. Pace car is off of the racetrack. They've still got another 100 yards or so until they see a green flag, if it does come out. Look at how tightly bunched they are. Flag is now free. And here comes turn 1. Oh my, 35 cars trying to get to turn 1 all at the same time, Max. Looks to me like that's Dorsey Schroeder who moves out, and that's Robby Gordon trying right for second place, and Halsmer doesn't let him have it that quickly.
You know.
Schroeder in front of it, the Mercury Cougar, then the Mazda of Halsmer, then Robby Gordon, and then it looks like the Nissan of Steve Millen, and the companion Nissan with EFR in the 5th place spot.
That's Jeremy Dale in the other Nissan, and then Elliott's coming in behind. That was a good clean start by everybody through turn 1.
Yeah, normally turn 1 tends to flake off a little fiberglass if nothing else. Underneath the Hyatt garage, where as this race progresses and the sun gets further down, lighting through there will be playing tricks on the driver.
Yeah, it gets dark going through the tunnel on the back straightaway and through the Hyatt garage.
Out onto the short chute they come, this time trying to get it up to speed in a hurry. Something was smoking right in there. Either there's a good barbecue going on between our camera and the race cars, or somebody's got a motor going south. Watching the field go now into the turn that number 9 here. And on board the Mazda of Halsmer as he comes under the bridge right there on the front straightaway. Halsmer's car effectively a whole new effort this year with that rotary.
Yeah, it is. It's a brand new Mazda team with Jim Downing, and they've got 4 rotor Mazdas. They're running a real lightweight, and it seems to be doing real well. They ran well at Miami, and they had a good showing there at Daytona. Sebring fell out with some problems, but they're a strong runner.
It's a Mercury Cougar in front, a Mazda that you're riding on board in second, and then another Mercury Cougar, and then the first of the Nissans. And we have a lot more brands than that with Chevrolet Corvettes, Dodge Daytonas, and a bunch more. But this ride is the 4th race of the season in a GTO series that will traverse the United States back and forth, it seems like several dozen times.
Yeah, it is. It's a long season there for the truck drivers. They get tired of going, but it's a great series and doing real well. There's some good competition in it.
Halsmer, the second car that you see right there, chasing Dorsey Schroeder, and the smoke is off of Dorsey's car, or was that tire smoke?
I think that's either tire smoke, or there's a possibility of when he's going in there under hard braking that the body's touching the tires, or just the front nose is touching the ground there.
The slowest corner on the racetrack, the 11th of the 11 turns on this 1.62 mile long course, and again a good look at Dorsey as he comes up through the gears in the Cougar. Right behind him, the Mazda still of Pete Halsmer, then step back a little ways to find the other Cougar of Robby Gordon. Let me put it into a better perspective. We have talked about and talked to Robby Gordon, but he's got a tough assignment after coming off of the dirt of the desert and then go to the asphalt here.
He sure does. He just stepped in a few minutes ago and got back from San Felipe and did about 5.5 hours in a dirt truck bouncing around the desert. So it is a little adjustment. He hasn't been in the car at all today.
That full-size Venable Ford that he drove in San Felipe didn't let him down.
He won the race and he finished 3rd overall.
Poor baby.
Won his class, yeah.
Yeah, having a tough day, isn't he? All right, through the section right there, and there has been no change in your top 3. Dorsey has, I think, quit teaching him tricks, has he not? Dorsey was the senior member of this group. Or?
Yeah,
and that's the Ost Racing Porsche that has, I thought he just cooked a motor, but he's back under power again. No,
I think we have a problem there.
Yeah, he's got problems. He might be making power, but I got a feeling he's laying down some oil. Now we're on board with Steve Millen. He's running in the 4th place overall. Behind him is Jeremy Dale, his teammate. As they get out onto the straightaway, let's listen to the Nissan go to work. Fastest spot on the track, now brakes. Turn 1. Out the back, and here comes Jeremy Dale, 5th place car. Jeremy Dale is right there. Don't miss a ship, Steve Millen. We're coming back for a lot more of this excitement. 3 laps are complete. Schroeder's in front. Halsmer, Gordon, Millen, and Dale.
ESPN.
Welcome back to Long Beach. You're watching a challenge for the lead right now as Halsmer gets in underneath and takes it away from Dorsey, and trying to go through at the same time looked like Robby Gordon. Their last lap around the racetrack, 79.89 miles an hour, and I think something's gone wrong with Schroeder's car, or what?
No, I'm not sure if there's something's gone wrong or not. We'll have to see. I was surprised that the Mazda got him under braking, because that seems, if anything, might be the weak suit there with the Mazda.
Looked good in the early part of this.
Yeah, it sure did.
Halsmer, our points champion and our current GTO leader with that pass just as you came back to our action here in Long Beach. And now it's a Mazda, a pair of Cougars, and then a Nissan in that order. You're riding with the leader at the moment. Halsmer going down to gears and putting on the brakes there for turn 9. Under the Goodyear Bridge they go, and through turn 10. Now there'll be this hard right-hander at 11.
Yeah, with the turbo car this morning, I was having a tough time getting through there. That was hurting me with the coming off that corner, because you almost come to a stop. It's really one of the slowest corners you'll probably ever run in this country, road racing IMSA.
And then a transition to the fastest part of the racetrack, where speeds of 160, 165 are well within the capacity of these cars.
Yeah, I think they were geared earlier when we got here right around 167, 168 miles an hour.
Passing traffic already, and the trio that is well out in front. The number 1 Mazda of Halsmer. Behind him now it looks like the number 6 of Schroeder, and then Robby Gordon in the 3rd place spot in those identically looking Mercury Cougars. An hour on this racetrack. Hard on you physically?
Not so much physically, but you're going to have to watch your tires and just kind of pace yourself a little bit on as far as tires, but you're going to have to run it pretty hard. These cars aren't as physical in an hour, and with the temperature being fairly cool, I don't think there'll be a fatigue problem with the drivers at all.
No pit stops are called for, right?
No pit stops.
And if you do, you might as well kiss everything goodbye.
Yeah.
Now, traffic a bunch, and here come your leaders. There went the Mazda by. Looking at the 2 Cougars running 2nd and 3rd, and Robby Gordon appears to want around Dorsey now. Oops, number 37 with a spin. That's Lance Stewart. Lance Stewart has recovered. He's in a run-out mode right now and figuring out how to safely re-enter the action. There he goes, back on board. That car running in the GTU category, a little bit of the more underpowered. If we haven't mentioned it enough already, there is a race within a race here, and 2 separate championships that they're going for. So you're wondering what happened to number 37, Lance Stewart. Well, watch the blue number 96 with tire smoke a bunch as David Loring catches his right rear quarter panel and sends him around at turn 1. Let's go back now, and we're in the lead car once again. What's in front of the driver right there as we were looking? Was that like the master cylinders?
The master cylinders, the reservoirs for the brake cylinders and the clutch cylinder.
So you could visually check? You'll know if it was anything going down?
Yeah, you don't have time usually to look at the reservoirs, and especially in a short race like this, you don't have to worry about brakes at all. In a 24-hour, 12-hour, you might possibly look at those on a pit stop to make sure you've got enough fluid in there for brake pad wear.
Now, Max, you've raced these kind of cars a lot. Tell me what Halsmer's next assignment is here. I mean, is he worried about keeping the Cougars behind him or getting through this traffic?
Well, he's got to work on the traffic. If you worry too much about your mirrors, you're going to run into one of these slower cars up front. So you've got to work the traffic as best you can. And it's a tough track here, work traffic on the backside there where there's a lot of corners. And if they're not going to give it up to you, you've got to be patient and get by them.
Right here is where you're going 167 or so, right?
Right. And it's a good place to overtake some of the slower cars because you've got, and the front running cars there, they've got superior braking. So
once again, there is your lead Mazda now trying to get through traffic. Behind him is Schroeder and Robby Gordon, and a lot of traffic. The last lap around, Halsmer averaging 78.83 while in traffic. Oh, that's a tough assignment. The number 72 car is the one that they are going around. That's R.J. Gottlieb in the Chevrolet Camaro, and his job is to not hurt anybody fact that the leaders are coming through.
Yeah, it's a tough assignment. Even when you're in a slower class in GTU, you've got to watch your mirrors and you've got to give it up sometimes to the guys. And but then also you're in your race too, so it's really a tough assignment.
RJ Gottlieb has apparently broken. If I've still got the same Camaro in the shadows, there is a Camaro coming to a dead stop, driver's left on the racetrack at about the second fastest part of this track. Now with IMSA, they will just yellow flag that one section and possibly send out a tow truck to recover him?
Well, probably not. As tight as this track is, they're going to probably bring out a pace car if they've got to tow him out of there.
All right, well, we'll watch and see as that develops. We are cooking in the streets of Long Beach. Robby Gordon got stuck a little bit in traffic and has lost a little touch now with the duo out in front. Pete Halsmer in the Mazda, and behind him, Dorsey Schroeder dancing a little, skating a little.
A little skate, a little slide there, but that's about how you drive these cars. And I think there you see a little bit Robby's taking it a little easy with traffic. He hasn't had a lot of experience in road racing in the street, so I think he's being a little patient there.
The 07 car, Stuart Hayner's Dodge Daytona, the yellow one, right in front of the leaders. He'll be the next one. I don't know if you can see it, but in the shadows there, underneath that bridge, there's a car parked, and it's RJ Gottlieb, car number 72, and he's in a bad position. The report I'm getting right now is in a full course yellow. In fact, there is the yellow flag, which means the pace car will come out and the field will bunch up, and a tow truck can tow that car from its precarious position. Here's the way the top five look. Halsmer, Schrader, Gordon, Millen, and Dale. And I'll bet a few of you are wondering what happens from 6th on back. There they are, and we're coming back to Long Beach. The streets of Long Beach, California, and the pace car in front of them. We're under a full course yellow here in the IMSA GTO GTU Challenge from Long Beach. The breather, so to speak. Looking at the leaders as they come up to turn number 9 right there, and it is the Mazda out in front of it of Pete Halsmer, right behind him, a hard charging Dorsey Schroeder. It's been a great dogfight. The car that is missing from the 4th place position right there is Steve Millen. The number 75 Nissan has developed problems under this yellow flag condition. Standing by with a pit side report is our colleague Jack Arute to find out if it's terminal.
And Bruce, this is a difficult situation for Steve Millen. He looked at the temperature gauges going down the backstretch, and he saw that the temperature gauge itself for oil had gone skyward. It began to boil out over the boilover. It's all over the side of the car, and they're working on the car right now trying to see if they can locate where the problem is. But this is costly. Although it's under a full course yellow, he's already gone 1 lap down. Let's go back to you.
Thanks, Jack. 1 lap here at Long Beach will break your back in a field like this. The pace car still controls the field, so let's take a moment as Ralph Shaheen takes us to a Quaker State track fact.
To be competitive in GTO, the driver needs to know as much as he possibly can about what his race car is doing at all times. Now, the folks at the Mazda team have stole a little bit of advanced technology out of the IndyCar ranks, and it's called the black box. The advantages to the black box are numerous. You have a digital readout for your tachometer up here. Down here, you're getting your water temperature right now, and it'll also tell you how high the water got during the session. Now, you can set this so that it'll work as an alarm system. If you don't want the water temperature to get above 210 degrees, just set the parameters in the black box, and an alarm light will go on telling you that you're reaching the 210 degree level. Now, you flick the switch, and you can do the same thing with your oil. Turn the knob a couple of times, and now you've got a constant lap timer. The black box is just another example of evolving technology and GTO competition. This track fact has been brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
Well, thank you, Ralph. As we look down from high above in the Goodyear blimp, we're waiting to see if the pace car turns off or not, and the pace car does not. So the Chevron GTO GTU Challenge is still under yellow flag. We'll take a moment now and be right back. California, where the GTO GTU Chevron Challenge is just getting a green flag once again, and it is out in front of it Halsmer, chased by Dorsey Schroeder, and in pursuit of them, Robby Gordon, as it has been most of the time, although we spent a couple of laps under the yellow flag. We have 12 laps completed in a 1 hour long race, and the Cougars want to get back up and talk to that Mazda. On board with the leader, Pete Halsmer, through turn number 3 now, headed for turn number 4. Tight portion of this racetrack, Max.
Yes, it is. The tight part back there, but it's a great part of the track. It's a lot of rhythm through there. You get through 2, 3, 4, and come down into 5 and 6. I enjoy that part.
Schrader's being aggressive, trying. I mean, he hasn't tapped him yet. yet, but he's letting him know, right?
Yeah, I think Dorsey maybe is content to run right behind Pete. Maybe push Pete just a little bit. And then when we get into traffic again, we'll see what happens. A lot of the strategy here is dealing with traffic. If a guy gets tied up behind him, gets bumped a little bit, it's you know, you can take advantage of that if you're in second.
It almost seems as though they develop the same torque curve. I mean, they're doing the same acceleration. Nobody has a distinct advantage over the other.
Yeah, there is a pretty good, you know, you never know if everybody's showing all their cards, but there is a drastic difference between the two cars. The Mazda's a lot lighter, and with the four-rotor engine, and with the turbo car and the Cougar, it's a lot more horsepower, but carrying a lot more weight. And weight hurts your tires and brakes and other factors there too. So they have got their wheels pretty close. I'm not sure if it's too early in the season to see if we've got it just right.
Down in the pit lane, Jack Arute has got more on the Steve Millen story.
It's not like the Nissan to break down in races. It's been really reliable, and we thought we could repeat the Miami win again here, but it's not to be.
Steve, what about the track conditions in the early going? You said it's getting a little bit greasy out there.
Yeah, some guy had an engine blow, and he drove the whole circuit, spreading oil all the way around the track, so it's pretty messy up there right now.
Bruce?
There is your leader in GTU, the 00 car of Don Knowles. Running in second place would be number 95, Bob Leisinger, and number 38, John Finger, has got the third place position in the GTU. If it is possibly your first IMSA race, the two different classes, one effectively over the bigger engines are in the GTOs, the smaller engines are in the GTUs, right, Max?
Right, and a lighter weight car, develop a little less horsepower, but it's a great series. I mean, there's the Dodge and the Mazda. There's a big battle there. And a couple years ago, I ran the Chevy Beretta back then, and it was, you know, it's a good series. Sometimes the fans get a little lost in not watching the race within the race.
Number 95, Leitzinger, whom I just mentioned, was in second place, has called on the pit lane, and number 95 doesn't need to be in the pits. Once again, as we said, this is not a pit stop type of race. You won't be planning on making any tire changes, and you are not allowed to add any fuel to the car. But that changes the top, and it gives a little more breathing room for 00 Don Knowles in that Dodge Daytona in charge of that category. Now, climb into the driving compartment of our leader, Pete Halsmer. The four-rotor Mazda is on the fastest portion of the race course. This is that arcing curve at Shoreline, underneath the pedestrian bridge there, and get on the brakes for turn number 1. You've got to use the brakes. Whoa, who's that coming around? It's the Whistler Cougar of Dorsey Schroeder with a brassy move, and Schroeder has taken over the lead, dropping Halsmer to second. There's some great racing happening at the front of this pack, but further on back, they're bumping and grinding, aren't they, Max?
Yeah, a lot of action going on in the back there with the GTU cars banging on each other, starting to look like a Trans Am race there for a second.
Expanding for a moment on what Steve Millen was telling us, we saw that engine go away early on in the race. Is that track now still oily from that?
Yeah, it is going to be slick. The more you run out, the race tires will pick some of that oil up, but it'll still be slick. And it's just a shame that some of the guys don't get off the line when that happens. You know, but they're trying to get back to the pits or whatever reason. But if they can get offline, it sure makes it a better race for everyone else who's got to keep continuing all day.
Yeah, for the rest of them, as far as racing goes, we're getting a great one-on-one battle here as Dorsey Schroeder with the Mercury Cougar comes to the slowest corner on the racetrack, takes that turbo Cougar up through the gears with the Mazda right on his tail. On to the fast portion of the racetrack. And again, they get just about equal amounts of horsepower to the ground as we look at the view through Pete Halsmer's windshield.
Yeah, here at Long Beach, it's definitely a drag race coming off that hairpin down there.
Now, put me the brakes on here. You're coming down from 160 and change. You're working brakes hard, aren't you?
You're working brakes real hard here.
And traffic would add a spice to it. Through turn 3, and Halsmer trying to figure out how to get back around Dorsey Schroeder. Still in third is number 9, Robby Gordon, but he's lost touch with this battle.
Yeah, if another yellow comes out, he can get back in touch if there isn't too many lap cars in between them. That's probably the problem with that last yellow. He had a couple lap cars, and when the leaders took off, he had to work by those guys, and so he loses a little bit of ground there.
Good battle between the two right now, the Mercury Cougar and that Mazda rotary motor of Halsmer. Schroeder and Halsmer out of the darkness and the shadows and around some more traffic. I mean, you really got to squeeze it in there a couple of times, don't you?
Yeah, it looks a lot tighter here on TV than it does when you're in the car.
Well, it's a plenty good battle right now. The Whistler Cougar of Dorsey Schroeder and the Mazda RX-7 of Pete Halsmer coming through turn 10. And there's the Goodyear Blimp Columbia out of Carson, California, piloted by Tom Mattis from Huntington Beach. And there's the shot they can give us. We're looking at the top 5, and we're coming back. We're in Long Beach, California for the Chevron GTO GTU Challenge, and that red Whistler Cougar is Dorsey Schroeder, who is the leader. And right behind him in the blue and white Mazda is Pete Halsberg. Well, there's a lot of tire smoke right there at the corner or something. There's the reason. Number 13, Mike Sheehan has spun, and he's not in a very good spot on the racetrack as some of the heavy hitters are coming by awfully close to him. There might be a little bit of oil down, too, the way he has spun around quickly and backwards there. Sheehan trying to get it to light back up and put the... 61 coming in, and nearly by on him is Don Swanson. Swanson ends up with a piece of the wall, but he's not hurt, and Sheehan gets out of there. Here's Swanson trying to get back. Oh, poor place to re-enter the racetrack. But Swanson and his GTU Mazda are now back into the competition. Another one who's fallen by the wayside. That's the 00 car of Don Knowles. And Knowles being helped by the Cow Club workers, and they're parking him off of the racetrack. So Knowles' day is probably done. Wow, a lot of action all of a sudden in a quick hurry right there. Let's take a look back in replay. Here's the number 13 car that apparently started the incident. And the incident was bigger than I thought. More damage. Number 6, Dorsey Schroeder, the leader. Front end damage as we see him bounce off of Tom Verdon, who's now on your screen. And there must have been a lot more went on in that corner. Here we are back with the Mazda. And Pete Halsberg has taken over the lead. Now, wait a minute. How did Halsberg get by? Here's the replay from inside of the incident itself. And Halsberg just sneaking underneath Dorsey Schroeder there as he bounced off of Verdon. That's the number 9 vehicle of Robby Gordon, who is still shown in third place, and he had front end damage. Look at it again. Here he comes to the front end. Burton.
Yep, he's definitely got some damage. He's got a flat tire up front. I think if they can change the tire and maybe clean some of that bodywork off, he'll be able to get back out there.
Take a close look at the front end now of the second place car, Dorsey Schroeder, as he collected a little bit of that traffic that was spinning in front of him and around him.
It looks like all he can do here now is just watch his gauges and make sure things don't start creeping up, and it'll hurt him a little bit aerodynamically down the front straightaway here, but I mean, he's still close enough to Pete that I think it can still be a good race here at the end.
The number 76 car of Jeremy Dale has now inherited the third place spot, while fourth place is number 63, another wily veteran, Elliott Forbes Robinson. All right, taking a look now at the work that is going on Robby Gordon, who was running third. Left front tire is being changed. The fiberglass is being tended to.
Yeah, this is some bad luck. I mean, that's part of the racing. You got to deal with that traffic and those back cars that are running in there. So it's just one of those things where you got guys spinning in front of you. You got to make judgments when you go right or left, and we've all been in those situations.
There's your leader of the GTU category, number 38, John Finger, and he has inherited the lead in that group, and nobody real close to him. He would know, right? I mean, he is being informed properly by his pit signs that he's got the GTU lead.
Right, he does it. I mean, there's been a lot of action going on with the Dodges and the Nissans falling out, so he's probably got a decent lead, and he can probably just cruise here and drive within your means. If the track gets oily and slick, you just don't want to keep driving maybe as hard as you were earlier, because it's just not going to hold up, and Long Beach is definitely not forgiving.
That graphic said 9th place overall, first in the small motored category, and doing a pretty good job at the moment. Keep an eye on him here for a while. We'll watch him move through traffic maybe, although they don't storm through traffic. The GTUs don't go through it as hard. Underneath the garage parking area with an access to a major hotel inside the circuit. That's one of the few racetracks that has that type of a thing to it. Back on the overall leaders, now the overall second place. Ooh, did you see the hood just blow off of Dorsey Schroeder's car? I bet that'll thrill you.
Yeah, that definitely got some attention, but I don't know if that's going to help or hurt his it's going to hurt his aerodynamics, but it doesn't look like, it's hard to tell from that angle whether he's crimped off the airflow to the intercooler and the radiator.
Well, he's certainly, as you mentioned, the aerodynamics have now gone awry, and if everything is still connected and working as he's out there battling, let's point out once again, that is still your second place car, about as aerodynamic as a brick.
I have memories of Phoenix a few weeks ago. We were running there, and he was running the Whistler Mustang and not the Whistler Cougar, and he got into a car, and the hood flew off just like that and flew right over my car.
Oh, you were chasing him and got to see it all up close?
Up close.
Take him on to the short chute in the back. The first car to you, that's your leader, Halsberg, with our onboard camera. The second one, the Cougar, who has now rearranged bodywork, the 1990 look for the Whistler Cougar. Second place. Third place would be on back at number 76, Jeremy Dale, then 63, Elliott Forbes Robinson, and office flag. The red and yellow stripes oil type flag is how a lot of people refer to it, as being hung out at start finish. So even IMSA now confidently telling everybody she's a plenty slippery track. Back on board with the leader, Pete Halsmer, and he's got to be double careful as he catches traffic in a hurry. You know, Pete Halsmer is one heck of a race driver, and earlier my colleague Ralph Shaheen took a look at his career.
Over the past 2 years, he has been a dominant force in Lincoln Mercury's racing effort. And last year, he captured the GTO championship with a third-place finish at Del Mar.
It was nice, really. It's kind of a culmination of the development work that we did for the first year with the Mercury and running for another season in Trans Am, then transferring over to IMSA GTO. It was particularly enjoyable because Ford really gave me a nice opportunity to come with them back in '86 when I came and drove the probe for them in GTP and started developing the Mercury for them. It's kind of a topping on the cake for running these kinds of cars, but really the topping would be to put two of them together in a row.
This year, veteran Pete Halsmer has switched to a new Mazda team with a brand new four-rotor version of the RX-7. But why leave a winner and switch to a team who is in a development year?
It's an opportunity and a challenge to see if I can go with a new operation. I think it's an excellent organization and an excellent car that they've put together, and I enjoy that kind of a challenge. And also the long-term opportunity with Mazda eventually to go GTP racing, which they have expressed an interest in, makes it interesting to me as well.
Pete Halsmer, one heck of a race driver, and in the lead at the moment. And we're returning to Long Beach right after this. Welcome back to the streets of Long Beach, and you're watching a one-on-one battle that has been raging for a while. Halsmer in front, but Schroeder with the much rearranged Cougar is trying, yet he's within a half a car length, and they're in traffic. Excitement reigning between these two. But there was another one that was part of this action prior to this. That was Robby Gordon. And we're going to go down, I think, right now where Ralph Shaheen has got Robby Gordon.
Robby, tell us a little bit about what happened to you out on the racetrack.
Well, you know, I just kind of driving along, following Dorsey Schroeder and Pete Halsmer, you know, having a really good, consistent race. And, you know, they're over here in like turn 5 or 6. There was a 3-car pileup, and I was just involved in it. You know, I was right behind Pete, and one of those things you couldn't avoid.
Well, for Robby Gordon, he'll go 1 for 2 today. Let's go up the pit lane and Jackaroo.
Well, Ralph, the leader of the privateers, so to speak, here was Paul Gentilozzi. And Paul, you're out of the race with what?
Well, we broke a piston. We were trying something, a small V6, which is unusual in GTO, and perhaps we were running the motor a little too hard, but it broke a piston.
Back a few seconds is our third place, and there it is, the Nissan of number 76, Jeremy Dale, who is 3rd overall. Now here's a driver that's been establishing a reputation lately, huh?
Yes, he has. He drove the Dodge Daytonas last year in the GTU class, and he did a tryout with the Nissan team, and he got the ride, and he's doing an outstanding job for him.
Through turn 1 with the much maligned now Whistler Cougar, and you can see that he's still only about, what, 8 car lengths back now, and is still in a position to yet challenge. But does he have to meet a minimum weight at the end of this race?
Yes, he does, but I think they would consider we don't cut it usually that short. The hood, those carbon fiber hoods don't weigh a lot. I imagine that whole hood assembly maybe in the 3 or 4 pound range, so it's a pretty lightweight piece.
Okay, so there wouldn't be any problem. If he does win it, he'll probably still meet the weight limits. All right.
I don't think there's a problem.
Out onto the short chute once again. The 4-rotor Mazda, the turbocharged Cougar, the battle in GTO, and still, it just flat amazes me that car is still competitive. The number 63 car that you see there going through, that's your 4th place. Elliott Forbes Robinson, the Mazda. And that wasn't all tire smoke, I don't think, that came off of that car this last time around.
No, that is out the exhaust. When you back off the Mazdas, it goes into a rich condition. There's a lot of unburned fuel, and that's why the flame you see coming out too. So it's just the exhaust.
Elliott Forbes Robinson is a very accomplished race car driver. Earlier, I asked him what it's like to drive the Mazda.
It's
so much different because, you know, in the turbo you hear about the lag and you hear about all these things. And this, I would compare it more to an electric motor than I would to a reciprocating motor because everything turns like an electric motor. It doesn't have any giant jumps in horsepower like a turbo does or even a normal engine. So it is very, very easy to drive, although it doesn't have quite the torque at the bottom end, and that's one of the reasons we do have the lighter weight.
All right, we're going to be going down pit lane once again. Ralph Shaheen has a report for us.
Bruce, we're standing with Scott Treichler. Scott is a crew chief for Dorsey Schroeder. Scott, we've noticed obviously the body damage to the Cougar. How is it handling for Dorsey inside the car?
Well, he hasn't said much. I assume he's lost all his front downforce with the hood off, so that's probably making the car pushy. The front end's not sticking anymore, which is going to affect him on a track like this. His times are holding up pretty well, but it looks to me like he's just hanging on right now.
Any reports of how the engine is handling? Is it affecting the cooling at all?
Well, we have in-car telemetry, so we can see his engine temperatures here. Everything looks cool, so as far as the motor, everything's okay.
Well, for right now, Dorsey Schroeder's just hanging on, hoping he can make it to the finish.
Well, hanging on. I don't think he's just hanging on, Ralph. I got a feeling he's aggressively tooth and nail going after it because he could hang on a lot slower, right?
Yes, he's not hanging on. He wants to win this race, and he's going to run as hard as he can and hopefully push Pete into a situation or maybe possibly he would overdrive the car or break something. So, I mean, he wants to win this race just as bad as Pete does.
We have completed a total of 31 laps, at least by the leaders, in this 1 hour long race. We're well beyond the halfway point. If you're just tuning in, we're in the streets of Long Beach, California. The 16th year of the Grand Prix, but the first year of the IMSA GTO and U race has been run here. The white and blue Mazda that just belched that yellow flame is your leader, the #1 car, Pete Halsmer, and right behind him, that rather un-aerodynamic piece is Dorsey Schroeder, who is second. These are the only two cars that have led this race, and they keep trying to swap it back and forth. In fact, Schroeder has closed back up on him again with the benefit of traffic. Schroeder's awful close. They're with, what, 2 feet in between them, and Schroeder trying to get underneath the Mazda on the short chute with a lot of traffic. This could be a key move right here. Watch it close, brakes on, and the Mazda had to give way.
Yeah, Dorsey got inside of him and did a great job of driving.
Dorsey Schroeder has taken that fugitive from a junkyard and put it into the lead now, and we're watching through the front end of the onboard camera, and there it is again as they go underneath the bridge there and up to the fastest speed on the racetrack. Boy, slicing and dicing through the traffic now with Schroeder out in front by a few car lengths as they get up to the fastest velocity. There is a look at Leitzinger's car, last year's champion in the U division. He also with the same aerodynamic stylist.
Yes.
Leader, last lap around, averaging 74.61 miles per hour. The car starts to get a little lighter now as some of the fuel is burned off. Does that change handling?
It does. It changes the handling of the car, and also in these cars, it'll affect, because the fuel cell's in the back, it'll affect how the car puts down the power. If the track's greasy and it's not, you don't have that extra weight over the rear axle, it's going to be hard to get off those slower corners. And I imagine that's why they're dropping the speed just a little bit.
Under the shadows of the garage overpass there and out onto the short straightaway, approximately 15 minutes. Remember, it's a timed race. Approximately 15 minutes are left in this, and Dorsey Schroeder's got that fugitive car out in front and still hammering away. The excitement from Long Beach continues right after this. Schroeder, Halsmer, Dale, Robinson, and Kendall, the top 5. Welcome back to Long Beach, California, as you watch Dorsey Schroeder in that much rearranged Mercury Cougar smoking through traffic. No, sparking through traffic, as he's just laying down a sheet of sparks. With the lead, too, by the way, in case we failed to mention that portion. He comes to turn 11, the slow part of the racetrack, takes it up through the gears with less than 4 minutes left in this 1 hour long race. He's got to be having his fingers crossed, hoping everything holds together. Second place right there, Pete Halsmer, the #1 Mazda. That looks lovely at the moment, but is lacking from the ability to run down the hard-charging Schroeder, whom we're back on. As the other driver, you see him giving him a real clear, you got the right-hand side.
That definitely helps a lot. When you come up on a slower guy, you know he's looked in the mirror and he points you by. It's a great feeling, because then you know if you get alongside him and he knows you're there and he's not going to turn down on you. So it really helps out a lot.
Just a couple of seconds separate them now after nearly 1 complete hour of racing. Each of them has held the lead. Each of them has actually held the lead 2 different times and given it or taken it away from the other.
It's been a great race.
Yeah, and I imagine the Mazda boys are saying, okay, Pete, show us how good you are now.
Let's turn it up here. We got a couple minutes left. But it's going to be hard hard for him to catch him, I think, as far back as he's dropped now.
Once again, that same Mazda moving over and letting it by. The number 13, who has been in our show a lot, Mike Sheehan, is the next one. You can see him through the windshield there, and his Camaro is the next thing that Pete Halsmer has to get by. Underneath that Goodyear bridge and to turn 10. Well, he's fighting that steering wheel, or is that standard drill?
Well, the Mazdas don't have power steering, so he's working it pretty hard. He really is.
If the Mazda doesn't have power steering, I'll bet it's fun in a 24-hour race, huh?
Yeah, it is.
This is the leader now in the GTU category. John Finger, number 38, is in front of that. Behind him, a ways back now, is number 37, Lance Stewart, who is actually second. The race within a race, there's the leader in the smaller engine category.
Lance Stewart's done a great job of coming back. He was the one that got in there with Bob Leitzinger in turn 1 and had to spin. So he's done a great job of driving it back up into second place.
Speaking of Leitzinger, that's him without the hood. The first car to you without the hood is Leitzinger, who was last year's champion in the U category. The other car without the hood is our overall leader, the Whistler Cougar, with Dorsey Schroeder. And the two no-hooded cars are now touring around for a photo opportunity. There'll be a horsepower differential that should become evident right here, right? Yeah. Just
GTO cars, definitely. There's a big speed differential in between GTO and GTU.
Last lap, 77.93 miles per hour, with things sparking and things dragging off of the car, and the aerodynamics are shot. Again, it is a 1 hour long race from the time the flag turns green. It is not a set amount of laps. And we are coming down to the short end of it, where there might be, no, it is now the last lap. That's the report we are getting, that they are going to be completing the hour before he finishes his next lap. So if it is Schroeder still in front when they come back, it will be checkered flag for him. And I'll bet he's ready to see that.
Yeah, he is. I'm sure he is. That's a great effort by Dorsey, running as hard as he can all day. I think he drove a smart race there and ran with Pete as long as he can, and then decided to go ahead and make his move, and he has.
Well, he's done everything that he could ask of that car, and it was in traffic early on when they did the rearrangement to that bodywork. Since then, Schroeder either has just ignored it. He can't ignore it. He's got to hear it. He's got to be able to see it all, right?
Yeah, he does. It's kind of a tribute to the Jack Roush Lincoln Mercury Cougar that you can tear the hood off and it'll still win the race.
Roush doesn't care. As long as you get the car to the finish line, whatever parts you bring back. Anyway, this is the last time down the short chute area. We have watched this car that we thought we were going to retire it 2 or 3 different times, but now it's on its way to the checkered flag, less than a half a lap. Dorsey Schroeder not hanging it out very far right here, is he?
No, he knows he's got this last lap, and he's just going to take it around, and he knows he has enough lead on Pete, who drove a great race too.
The crowd at Long Beach right along the front straightaway. Lots of hands waving and cheering going on as the checkered flag comes out, and Dorsey Schroeder wins the first Chevron IMSA GTO GTU Challenge in the streets of the beach. And Dorsey Schroeder will be on his way to Victory Circle. Pete Halsmer will end up with the second place spot. It did. The third place will be number 76. There he is, Jeremy Dale. Dale still with 3 more corners before he'll see the checkered flag. 63, Elliott Forbes Robinson, not far behind Dale, still has an outside chance of taking third away from him. That is a good battle yet for third.
That is a good battle. You might watch this under braking down here at the end.
That's the very happy Lincoln Mercury Whistler radar, people. And that's back on this battle for third. Number 76 coming home, Jeremy Dale. And EFR is within striking distance, but I don't think he's going to get him. Now they're at turn 10 of this 11-turn course. Final corner for him now. And young Jeremy Dale keeps it off of the wall. The Nissan will join. The Cougar, the Mazda, and the Nissan will be the 3 in Victory Circle, with 4th place going to Elliott Forbes Robinson, number 63, the Mazda. And there is a look at the number 38 on the cool-down lap, John Finger, who has won the GTU division. And we congratulate him. In fact, we're going to be going to Victory Circle in a little while, of course, and we want to join with all of these guys. That car has not a dent on it, not a scratch on it, the GTU winner, John Finger. Meanwhile, let's go back and look at your O winner here, and it looks like it should be at one of those pick-your-own-used parts type of lots.
Yeah.
He makes the turn into the Victory Circle. When we come back, we'll be joining him at the party in Victory Circle here in Long Beach.
This ESPN program is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name.
The Chevron GTO GTU Challenge in Long Beach is now completed, but the party's about ready to begin. Let's join Ralph Shaheen near Victory Circle.
Well, we got a fantastic driver here, Dorsey Schroeder. What an effort out on the racetrack today. Congratulations.
Well, I'm glad this day's over. I'll tell you what, we had the car early on. Pete gave us a good run. We got in that back marker and lost the front end of the car, and all the aerodynamics went, so it was scary as can be in the straightaway. Go in there flat out, and the car just pushed straight ahead. But, you know, the Whistler Cougar, man, I can't say enough for it. It came strong at the end, and once I got back by Pete, I said, there ain't no way. You know, this is my deal. This is a good day.
Well, once you got by him, did you think you'd be able to pull away from him the way you did?
No, but I knew it was my last chance. You know, I had to start driving smooth. We ran the back tires off the car, and, you know, it was pushing in because of no aerodynamics, and the rear tires were hot, so we were oversteering coming off corners. I had to just really hold on for dear life today. Pete gave us a good run the whole way, and I just thank the Lord I was praying the whole time to stay together. There's pieces falling off the car and sparks. Oh, man. But I got home anyway. It's great.
Well, his crew's got a long run from the pit lane where the GTOs and GTU cars are pitted. So we're going to let Dorsey catch his breath because the party's about to begin down here. He certainly earned it.
Boy, and he is pleased, but I've got to ask Max Jones something. Max, he sounds so out of breath. Was he working that hard, or is it just the excitement?
No, he's working that hard. When you get down towards the end there, you're giving it all you got, and you've got to hang on as hard as you can. You got to drive it to the limits. It's a short sprint race, and you've got to give it all.
Let's go back once again to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, we're down here with John Finger, who's a winner of our GTU division. And John, it's been a while since we've seen you in Victory Circle.
Well, this is just my third race of the year, so or fourth or whatever. But, you're going to see some more, I hope.
A full-fledged season for you then, right?
It will be. With Mazda and Yokohama, everything looks good.
Well, for John Finger, for his third race this year, he's starting off on a good note.
Plenty good call. Ralph is a lone sailor making it past the Queen Mary here in Long Beach. Here's our overall results. Dorsey Schroeder, the winner, Pete Hausmer, Jeremy Dale, Elliott Ford Robinson, and Chuck Kendall. John Finger, 6th overall, first GTU, then Stewart, Oberlin, Leitzinger, and Manueli. From there on back, 11th through 15th, Henderson, Verdon, Sheehan, Caloris, and Gouge. For Jackaroo, Ralph Shaheen, and Max Jones, I'm Bruce Flanders. Thanks for watching.